kind of music that Jordan tends to light his incense to.
Look at this.
Wait, he's going to light some.
Coming with the drop. Perfect on time. All right, we are off and running. Welcome in the NFL DFS PrizePicks show as we're going to get you fully ready for week 2 and especially how to win some money on PrizePicks. It's pretty simple. You have a choice of going over or under. And as EMac in the house with me on Saturdays to break it all down, fully researched, thoroughly researched and prepared, EMac is in the house with a ton of over-unders on PrizePicks. And the beauty of it is that you can follow along with our projections on Awesemo.com and really see a pretty big difference as EMac has a ton of players we're going to rifle through. Jordan is in the house producing, so if you're in the chat, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. You're subscribed to the channel, and you say hi to Jordan as well. And take full advantage of our promo code Awesemo on PrizePicks.com. We'll match your first deposit up to $100. EMac, my man, you are as fully prepared and ready to go as any person on this entire channel today on any program. And I love it because we're going to jam 17 names. That's as ambitious as possible. 17 names in 25 minutes.
All right, we are going to have some fun here. Glad to do another show here with you. They asked me back. We had okay analysis last week. We went kind of narrow and in depth tonight. I backed out, looked at, we have a little more data. PrizePicks put up some more picks. We have some additional information with sort of how things happen, but it's the NFL. Everything's going to go out the window any given Sunday, as they say. But we're going to group this, had more fun with the stats today. So we'll look at some passing yards, some rushing yards, some receptions, receiving yards. I did a couple fantasy picks, but it's interesting to see how those normalize pretty close. For those of you wondering what we're talking about, it's PrizePicks. You make a player, you make a prop card. You can do 2, 3, 4, or 5. If you do 5, get them all right, you get 10x your value. They don't have any freebies this week, I believe, but like last week where they gave us a free one, half yard with Patrick Mahomes.
Beautiful. Hey. That's on us. If we can't take advantage of that, then that's on us. Now it's all about skill. That's why we have you here, is to help break down maybe some gray area or some areas that people would stay away from, not realizing that, hey, you can use our own projections as well to kind of marry what we have on PrizePicks. So, yeah, let's look at some passers here right away. We'll kind of move around throughout the different positions and see what we can take advantage of. Let's start Tom Brady and look at a couple of guys, including his former team as well. But let's kick off things with Tom Brady.
All right, so Tom Brady, of course, all eyes will be on him. He's a million years old now at this point. I guess, well, 43. Is he
close?
Is he? Are you older or younger? Is this one of the last NFL players that's still older than you? Eytan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mine passed me a while back.
No,
so.
Are you serious? Who was it?
Oh, I don't even remember at this point. It's been
Brady
a while. I need Jan Stenerud to come back or something like that.
You just brought something up in my life that I had no idea even existed, which is that there are still players in the NFL, probably one, I would think, if it's Brady. So thank you for making me feel even older. I appreciate that, EMac.
Jamie Moyer for a while.
Wow.
Was the one guy.
And he was like ancient too. So that's really dating yourself.
Exactly. But we got Tom Brady. He is going against Atlanta. Atlanta has the bottom 10 DVOA passing defense.
Terrible.
It's kind of an easy one. So PrizePicks here, these are not static lines. These will change if they start getting action on one side or the other. So when you're hearing us talk about it, you want to pounce now if you like the numbers, especially college football. You'll get a Matt Gajewski show coming out midweek or a little videos on demand where he'll put some stuff out and then those change. So by the time it gets around to Saturday, those have all tightened up. But the Tom Brady one's kind of interesting. It's PrizePicks has it at 311.5 yards. Awesemo is projecting him for 333 yards. So it's a little bit over. We feel that without much of a running game there, a lot of this is going to come down to Tom Terrific, of course. The Tampa Bay defense, if they get a scoop and score, pick six, or give him some short fields, he may not get there. That's the risk on this one. But the over does feel comfortable on that. We've got some overs. We've got some unders. We try to find the unders as well here, but we'll bounce around those. So you feeling that's probably my most confident one is Tom Brady.
I like
based on the matchup and the lack of a running game there.
Yeah, I think the one thing when I look at Atlanta, the defense is probably as bad as they were against Philadelphia, but the offense is probably not as bad as they were against Philadelphia, especially the Bucs defense, pass defense, which looked like you could throw clearly with Dallas on that Thursday night opener. So yeah, I love it. There's definitely going to be opportunity for Brady to move the football up and down the field, and to go over that number seems reasonable. Now, you did mention it under or two.
We've got a
That's
couple
somebody
here.
else that we have at the quarterback spot.
Yep. So rookie Mac Jones will be making his second start. This one is going to be on the road. He is going into New York, taking on the Jets. We have Bill Belichick, who we know is going to want to have Mac Jones play within his means. The PrizePicks has him at 246.5 passing yards. Awesemo has him at 228.7. So we're under by about 10%. Again, that's not a lot. That's one broken play. That's one, lucky catch, contested ball going the right way. However, we know that Belichick would rather get the win than anything else in the world, especially now that Tom Brady has a Super Bowl without him and he's 1-0 and Belichick's 0-1. So I do like this one as the under. And then the third one I'm looking at, I don't know where to land on this one. So it's Jared Goff, okay. 252.5 yards. He is going against Green Bay. This is Monday Night Football. So you may want to file this one away for the single games only, which is a format that PrizePicks released last weekend, so that allows them to do the primetime games. But they have Goff for 252.5 passing yards. Awesemo has him for 234. I kind of like the under, but I start looking at it a little bit more. And what is Goff going to do? He's going to have to throw, in my opinion. So I think we could still get the over. That's still kind of a stay away for me. So even though the projections say one thing, those are median projections. Now we've got to look at it and determine where do we think the outcome is going to lie and what are the probabilities of getting there. So I'm on the fence for that one, even though it jumped off the page at me.
Goff's tough. I think if this were like last week, you can see that a non-divisional game, you're at home, San Fran, just trying to get the hell out of there after a huge victory. This case, you're still in division. Green Bay came off one of the worst, if not the most embarrassing losses across the board in week one. So part of me thinks that Green Bay is not going to take Detroit lightly in the second half and look to just continue to make a statement across the board, which I think actually makes it more difficult for Goff to pass. And yeah, at 252, even if it slides in EMac, in the 240s, you're still under. That's why like 252.5 seems like just a big number as a whole, where I think that I can comfortably go under that and still hit a decent game for Goff where he throws for, 235 to 245.
All right, next category, Eytan, couple rushers. There wasn't that much rushing to look at. I know I liked the full game last week for Jalen Hurts. Yep. You liked the first half.
First half, yeah.
We've got Devin Singletary here. Now, we don't know for sure what is going to happen with Zach Moss. All signs are sort of indicating he will be active. Again, they have Matt Breida, but if Moss ends up being active and Breida is active, who's the other guy? I think it's like Tywan Jones or something, who's more of a special teamer. It just is one more person that could get yards. So right now we have PrizePicks at 47.5 for rushing yards. Awesemo's saying 38. I like the under on this one just because there's enough people out there. It makes me feel better if Zach Moss plays, but even if Zach Moss doesn't play, there's no guarantee that there's going to be a ton of workload going to Singletary. Plus, he's still got Josh Allen. There's a variety of ways they can handle that one. So there's another one that's an under. And then Trevor Lawrence, 12.5 rushing yards, rookie quarterback. Quick, what were his week one rushing stats? This is a trick question. It was a kneel down for -2 yards.
There you go.
That's it. Awesemo projecting him for 23. PrizePicks 12.5. I like the over. That just means one scramble. And we know that rookies and inexperienced quarterbacks, there's pressure. They can't find the guy. The ball comes down and they run. We could see him do that 3 or 4 times. And even if he only gets 5 yards a pop, boom, we're over that 12.5.
Yeah, Denver's defense pretty tough too. So you'd expect that he'd be on the run, probably have a chance to break one. Maybe especially with some banged up backfield there a little bit as far as, the bottom half depth. Yeah, not unreasonable at all to think that either a design run or just a breakdown, a scramble for Lawrence to get to that. And really a couple runs. You're at 12.5, one big run or 2 or 3 to get there. That's not a big number at all. that definitely seems overreactionary low from what we saw week 1, where it was just the kneel down. And look, they were down a lot, which was the worst part about it against the Texans. So, yeah, I like that number. That's pretty good right there, especially with the discrepancy that we have as far as what PrizePicks has. And again, you can use our promo code Awesemo and we'll match your first deposit up to $100. Think about that. All these gems that EMac is giving you right here. You put 100 in, we'll match 100 for you with our promo code Awesemo. And then you can just sit back and watch the checks cash. This is great. All right. So I'm with you on Lawrence by all means. The 2 rushers that you have, great strategy too, to get in on Singletary, because from what I'm seeing, it does look like Moss is going to be a go. Even if Moss doesn't play much, it's still the threat of Singletary losing snaps. And I also don't think that they're going to be up a significant amount to move away from the passing game. So speaking of which, let's move to a couple of receivers and see where your eyes are.
All right. Well, speaking of eyes, it says this guy right here, not this guy right here, but this guy right here in the chat. He says, rain in Tampa all day tomorrow. That's not rain. Those are God's tears, because Tom Brady, with that amazing pass catching core of Godwin and Antonio Brown and Mike Evans, and who am I missing? Oh yeah, Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Come on, that's just a lot of options out there for Tom. Terrific. So we're going to talk about the 3 of them. They're more or less interchangeable. But we did see Chris Godwin with 12 targets, led the way. It was Antonio Brown that had, off the top of my head, 121 or 124 yards. I think he ended up, like 5 catches on 6 targets, something like that. And then Mike Evans was kind of a bingo, nothing really there. But he could be bingo, or is it Yahtzee? I forget what the phrase is. He can go off at any time. But Godwin right now is at 66.5 yards on PrizePicks. 83 is the Awesemo projection. So remember, they have Godwin at 66.5 yards. They have Brady at 313. Where are those other 250-ish yards going to go, if not to Godwin? They can't. I mean, even if you give 60 to everybody, you still got leftover change there. So I feel like that one could go higher.
No, that's great. I definitely think the leftover element of it, by all means, and the matchup as well. All right, you've got a bunch here, so I don't want to hold you up by any means on these receivers.
Worries, because we're going to pair a couple of them. We have Deebo Samuels and Brandon Aiyuk. Now, Aiyuk only played on 26 snaps last week. That was 47%. He's feeling better, but still dealing with a hamstring injury. We have, who is it? Kyle Shanahan, Mr. Coach speak himself, learned from the best, his dad. I don't trust anything he says, but Aiyuk is coming in at 31.5 yards there for PrizePicks. It feels like the over, we haven't projected at 47.5 yards. If the hamstring allows him to get out there for 2/3 of the plays, that would be great, but he doesn't have a target yet. Deebo Samuel, they're selling him short, 60.5 receiving yards. Awesemo says, yeah, we got him at 80. Now he gets even better if Aiyuk is limited or not playing, but Samuels just went nuts last week, 12 targets, 9 catches, well over 100 yards. So he's definitely the over, but at 60, I like that one. And again, these lines will probably change once we know more about Aiyuk, or once we know more about Zach Moss for the Singletary number. Jalen Waddle, kind of interesting here.
Oh, I love this.
48.5 for PrizePicks. Awesemo has him at 58.7. You know who's not in this game, though he's eligible? Mr. Parker. Mr. Fuller. Devontae Parker.
Will Fuller's out, yeah.
Will Fuller served his suspension. He's now away from the team for personal reasons. So not sure what's happening in that particular situation, but all of a sudden, I don't know that that's being accounted for in this current PrizePicks projection. So that one I would want to jump on.
Yeah, that's
thoughts
awesome
on that one. Yeah.
Love it, because even with Parker out there, the majority of the volume that's gone, the big play, at least element that's gone from Will Fuller that we anticipated him to be there. And what's crazy about it is that Fuller himself is not this major loss to the Dolphins offense, but the loss of Fuller definitely impacts Waddle better than anybody else, right? Does that make sense? Where Fuller himself is not this huge, oh my God, that the Dolphins won't be able to move the football, but there is some big play shots and attempts that will definitely go to Waddle. So just from volume standpoint, I like that number 48.5 over. But to your point about not having at all Will Fuller there, that should definitely be somewhere in the 60s. easily.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one we have is going to be Darrell Henderson here. He has a receiving yardage prop of 12.5. Awesemo's projecting him for double that. Last week, he had one target for 17 yards. There was only 26 pass attempts by Stafford. All we really need to do is have him get 2 catches, and he should go over 12.5 yards. That makes sense considering Sony Michel is going to be his counterpart. And then we've got a James Robinson. This is a double. He's
Look
landing
at you going running backs here
in 2 categories here. Well,
I love it.
It's kind of interesting. So Robinson's receiving yards 16.5. Awesemo projection for 28. Now those are low numbers, but I want to put this into perspective. PrizePicks also has him for 2.5 receptions. Awesemo has him for 3.7. Last week he was 6 targets, 3 for 29. So he would have won both of those for us. Last year in 14 games, he had at least 3 targets, at least 4 targets in 10 of those games. And in not all the exact same 10 games, he did have 3 or more receptions. So I like him for this low 2.5. If you put it at 3.5, I don't feel as good about it at all. Most of his games were like 3 to 4 catches, but at 2.5, I kind of like that, even if Urban Meyer is an urban myth.
Look at that. Yeah, I wouldn't bet much on the over for games coached by Urban Meyer. I don't think PrizePicks has that up there, but if they did, then we can jump all over that by all means. So you've got the double dip on James Robinson, where we have a pretty significant, really for both, as you mentioned, with Robinson and Henderson on receiving yards. I mean, we're near double the difference for Robinson, and you brought this up with Henderson, specifically over double that for Henderson. So based off of PrizePicks, these may just be as far as timid week 1 projections that Awesemo was looking for a breakout, and that's where you kind of marry the info with what we're looking at here. So definitely, I like it. I like it. There isn't anything that I've seen based off our own projections and heard from you that I thought, yeah, I'm even like a little bit tentative jumping in on it. Everything we've laid out so far has made sense. And then you tag it with just how much of a difference we have it projected on site. It's almost like we kind of have to. I mean, how could I not go over Henderson receiving yards at this point with the double projection and what you laid out as far as how easy and efficient it was for Stafford in week 1, where we expect him to throw a little bit more? I like it.
All right. A couple more here. Just referring to Brandon Aiyuk. You guys already heard the reasons why, and you ladies too, if you're watching, already heard the reasons why we're a little concerned about him with the hamstring, but he's got a 2.5 catch projection.
That's super low.
Awesemo's at 3.8. So we like that one a lot. Again, it's just going to come down salt to taste on that one. How are you feeling about it? How are you feeling about Devonta Smith, the rookie in Philadelphia? He has a 4 catch line, which is rare. Usually they give it a hook or not. So you do have the push potential in there. Awesemo has him at 5.2. I do want to point out that he led the team in targets, catches, receptions, and touchdowns with 8, 6, 71, and 1. How are you feeling about the prospects of your rookie here for your squad?
I think that no matter what happens this week, if it's a continuation, which I don't really see, of an offensive explosion that we got against Atlanta, that Devonta Smith is involved, no matter what. Like, I don't see a situation this year where the Eagles are putting up a ton of points on the scoreboard and Devonta Smith is just held out. He's going to be such an important piece on multiple levels against the defense, which then brings me to how I think bulletproof, and this is a phrase I use a lot, bulletproof to the game flow, how he is. Because if the Eagles are down and the Niners are in full control like they were in the first half against Detroit, then Smith is going to be the guy bringing you back. He's going to be the guy that they'll put the ball in his hands more so than anybody else. So when it comes to at least receptions and Devonta Smith, I think the safest play you can do, so until PrizePicks and books, et cetera, catch up, this is a 5.5 to 6 reception type guy, I think. And that's a significant dip. And again, it's across the board. It's not just PrizePicks, it's across the board. They just haven't caught up. So yeah, I love that. We can get him at 4 here on prizepicks.com. Absolutely. I'm hammering that over with you, EMac.
All right, I see that producer Jordan's sharing along with the screen there. I think if you guys noticed when he put in his bet, the money came out first of his promotion dollars. That's what happens. You put in, as Eytan said, use the promo code Awesemo, and you put in $100. PrizePicks will match you up to $100 by using our magic word. And they look, it comes out of your account first.
That's amazing. Yeah,
good way to do it.
Now, do we get anything back from this? Is this like a show account, or is this just Jordan's personal account?
This is Jordan's personal account.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well,
but Jordan,
Jordan
will be, well, I think he got 3 out of 5 or broke even last week.
Even. Yeah. Okay.
We were so close. We got there on the Dalvin Cook receptions pretty quick. And I forgot it was the
I thought we nailed Hurts too.
Yeah, Robinson's receiving yards did not get us there. Okay, but even though it was a 5 pick card, they've instituted something new that even if you don't get all 5, if you get 3 or 4, you get a portion of a multiplier for you
on the flex play.
So it's not as bad or not as downside all or nothing as it once was for that. All right, wrapping this up, of course, PrizePicks, not only do they have all of the stats, they have fantasy points. Oh no, we've got to learn a new fantasy point. No, it's half PPR. Everything else is like normal. It's FanDuel scoring. Okay. It's FanDuel / Yahoo scoring. So you can use our promo or projections for that and make your decisions. Now, the interesting thing that I noticed in rolling through all of these, the fantasy points kind of normalize a little bit more. Now, what you will find on PrizePicks is they'll tend to run a little bit higher than what Awesemo is doing. It all depends on how they're weighting the touchdown. They're sort of giving you the all or nothing, and you're more or less factoring in a touchdown for the receivers and for the running backs on their pick. So it's a little tricky. And then everybody is pretty well spot on with the quarterbacks. And notice this a lot with the baseball players as well. The baseball players, it'll feel like they're a little low. It's because the home run skews everything. So you want to understand the variance a little bit more. When we're looking at the yards, those are incremental. We get little bits of data or little bits of production. That gives us more room to have variance on, or a better what's the word I'm looking for? A distribution of outcomes. Whereas we're a little more binary when we're looking at home runs and touchdowns. If you go look at their touchdown props, they do have they do have scoring a touchdown of any type, and you'll notice they had about half a dozen running backs up there. That means they can get a rushing or a receiving touchdown, and then they have rushing touchdowns, and that's where you can get like a Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts or some of those guys there. But our fantasy points, it's a little tougher. So George Kittle, 14.5 fantasy points. Awesemo has him at 11.4. If you think Kittle is going to score a touchdown, he is going to get more than 14.5 points. Remember, It's half PPR. So it's how do you feel about that? What are we doing with Brandon Aiyuk, et cetera? So even though it looks like, oh my God, Awesemo's 25% less, we're not really 25% less because a touchdown wildly swings those points dramatically. But I would still kind of look at the under on that one. Jalen Waddle, fantasy points 13 for PrizePicks. Awesemo has it for 10.45. Again, we talked about how we liked his stats for the over. It gets a little tougher here for the fantasy points. And it's because, again, it comes down on how are you going to weight the probability of a touchdown. So for Waddle, I think I'd still probably go over, but I think that one's a tighter line than it is for his yards or his receptions. And then we get the daily double here because we got to loop back to Urban Meyer.
It's all about Urban Meyer
and the Jags. You have Marvin Jones and Laviska Shenault both coming in at 12 points, 12 fantasy points, and then Awesemo has them at 9.7. So I just wanted to point that out. If you have a stronger lean on one of those guys, what are I would probably go with Shenault, and I would probably take the over because he had a carry in the last game. We know he's going to get 1 or 2 carries every game, and he's more of the possession receiver. If you like the matchups for the burner wide receivers and their points are that low, one catch, and Marvin Jones, if it's the right catch, is going to have more than 12 fantasy points.
Amazing. You got through that entire list of 17 players in 25 minutes with me getting in the way, and that's beyond impressive. Beyond impressive, EMac. All right, we're back again next week, and we'll continue to get you ready for the following week, week 3 in the NFL. But no excuses now. We've given you a gigantic ticket here to play at prizepicks.com. A promo code on top of that with Awesemo, AWESEMO, to match your first deposit up to $100. And Jordan has even taken all of this and played it successfully for him as well. So if he's going to do it on his own account, you should as well. EMac, my man, this flew by. We'll do it again next week. Thank you, brother.
All right. Live next, MLB Live Before Lock, Greg Ehrenberg, Terry McBride.
There you have it. For EMac, for Jordan, for Awesemo. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and you're subscribed to the channel as well. Greg and Terry coming up next.